ended the last video by discussing Lego, and we explored the digitalization efforts being made at the Apple of toys. And from that discussion, we raised an interesting question. And that question was, are Lego unique in doing this? Or in other words, are Lego one of the few companies actively trying to develop the digitalization of their businesses today? What do you think about that? Do you think they are one of the few companies doing that? Well, the research helps us to understand this better. And according to Forrester research, who by the way is one of the most influential research and advisory firms in the world, according to Forrester and their most recent research, which is called On Digitalization Efforts by Companies, what Forrester found was that Lego are fairly unique because only 27% of all the businesses that they surveyed have a logical digitalization strategy in place. And by logical digitalization strategy, what we mean is that the company has defined how they will create customer value as a digital business today and in the future. Well, in a way, you could look at that research in another way and say that Forrester's research findings on this question revealed quite an alarming situation. And that is that more than 70% of businesses today don't have a logical digitalization strategy. So this research finding by Forrester, along with other research studies, have shown the same results. Companies don't have it. And that's the reason that in this boot camp we focus primarily on the digitalization of business. And the reason we're doing that is because digitalization in your career as a manager will have a big impact on any business you might be involved with. And because of that, you need to understand more about how digital technology might impact your business today and in the future. So coming back to the Forrester findings, which showed that more than 70% of companies don't have a logical digitalization strategy, this finding raises another question for us. And that question is, does that finding mean that digital transformation is not a strategic priority for most companies? What do you think about that? Well, the research helps us. The simple answer to that question is no, that's not the case. It does not mean that digitalization is not a top priority for most companies today. Because as a matter of fact, digitalization is a top priority. It is. And it's on the radar screen of leaders in most companies. And to confirm this fact, many research organizations such as Forrester and Gartner and IDC and Nielsen, etc., have interviewed company leaders and managers, and those leaders and managers have said that digitalization is in fact a top priority for them, and it's growing in terms of priority. In fact, that research has also come up with predictions on the impact of digitalization on businesses in the future. And those predictions are very interesting indeed. Please remember that these predictions we're now going to discuss are also based on past developments of digitalization and its impact over the years on different businesses. Well, according to these studies about the impact of digitalization on business, in 2018, 35% of all information technology resources in companies will be spent to support the creation of new digital revenue streams. And by digital revenue streams, we mean the earnings a business makes from all of the methods by which money comes into the company. As a matter of fact, by 2020, it's predicted that almost 50% of IT budgets will be tied up to digital transformation actions in companies. So you might be wondering, why is this rapid digitalization occurring? Well, it's occurring because for many businesses, digital thinking and digital technology is a matter of survival. And the question about the impact on digitalization for businesses has quickly evolved from why is it happening to how do we start to implement and operationalize a digitalization strategy in our company today. And part of this digitalization rush hour we're experiencing has to do with the rapid growth of online buying or e-commerce. And that number is expected to grow to $2.5 trillion by the year 2018. And that represents a compounded growth rate of 12% annually. Not bad for companies like Amazon and Alibaba. And this is also especially important for you to think about if you're in a business that's rapidly going online, or even one that isn't. So the potential is quite large if we just compare the growth in e-commerce sales with the growth of total retail sales. And according to Nielsen, who's another leading worldwide research company, in China alone, online sales today represent 12% or more of total retail sales. In the US, that figure's just 8%. But despite these small percentages, the current annual growth rates of online retail are plus 30% to plus 50% year over year. As a matter of fact, at this moment, China is the largest e-commerce market in the world, and North America represents the second largest with something like 33% of the worldwide e-commerce sales. But please remember, e-commerce sales in other regions of the world, such as India and Brazil, are also growing rapidly. And to emphasize this important trend, mobile e-commerce, although it has a small overall share in the retail market at the moment, is also seeing very rapid growth rates. And in India alone, as one example, India, the mobile e-commerce market already represents more than 50% or one-half of all online retail sales. And that is impressive and something to watch because we are going in that direction. But there are other trends which are influencing digitalization or the digitalization revolution. For example, the typical information technology or IT organization will spend about 30% of their budgets on risk, security, and compliance by 2018 to do with that trend. They'll allocate 10% or more of their staff to those functions. But even more interesting than that, already by 2018, at least 20% of all workers will use automated technologies to help them make decisions. And more than 3 million workers worldwide will be supervised by robo-bosses. And by robo-boss, we mean algorithms and smart machines that monitor worker accomplishments and evaluate our performance through measurements directly tied to output and customer evaluations. Now, I know that all of this talk about technology is getting rather geeky, but listen, folks, it's happening anyway, no matter what we think. So to get a more concrete understanding of how technology is impacting our businesses, let's return for a moment to a subject of an earlier bootcamp session, and that subject was marketing. And in that marketing session, we agreed that it might be useful for all of us to reflect on how technology is impacting marketing and the lessons we can learn from that in business in general and for our companies. And as we saw in that session, marketing is increasingly becoming more technology oriented. And as a matter of fact, there's even a buzzword for this trend. That buzzword is called MarTech. Mar meaning marketing and tech meaning technology. But to emphasize this digitalization trend, For just the marketing area, according to research by Gartner, technology investments by marketing people in companies will soon be greater than what the information technology departments currently invest. And the most important technology investment areas for marketers will be social marketing, digital commerce, and analytics. And as a matter of fact, high-performing companies are 4 to 10 times more likely to be already using those technologies. So compare yourself against them. Plus, there are a number of emerging new technologies which the high-performance companies are already testing in their businesses to see if they help them improve their performance. And those are things such as proximity marketing, which involves localized wireless distribution of advertising content associated with a particular place, like a shopping mall. The Internet of Things, which everyday objects have network connectivity, which allows them to send and receive data. Podcasting, digital media files, which users can set up, are also growing in use on computers and portable media. And wearable technologies, which means electronics can be worn on the body as part of the clothing, is also developing rapidly. So the million-dollar technology question for many companies today is, what should our company do in order to deal with all of these technological developments? In other words, what should the company's digitalization strategy be for the future?